Okay, let's glue these dungeon sections down onto something. I'm going to glue these down onto cardboard. This is regular cardboard you could get from boxes. If you don't want to use cardboard, you could also use foam core board. This is paper on both sides and a layer of foam in the middle, about a 1/4 inch thick. You could also use blue or pink insulating foam. This is a 1/2 inch thick. But these pieces are so small and simple that I think cardboard will work just fine for gluing these things down with. You want a piece of cardboard about twice the size of the room that you're going to do, because I want to have room to slide it over out of the way so I can put down glue and then put the thing back onto the cardboard. I'm going to glue this using Aleene's Tacky Glue. This is what I like to use. You can find it in the craft department at most Walmarts. It's a water-based glue. It's like Elmer's glue, only it's really thick. So what we're going to start doing here is lay out the tile or the room section according to the plans, or if you just came up with one on your own, that's perfectly fine too. Another thing to keep in mind is be sure that all of the cracks on the tiles are oriented exactly the way you want them. So if you've got a tile that's not really going the direction that you want it to go, now's the time before we glue it down to figure out just exactly how the floor tiles are going to lay out on there. A couple other things I'm probably going to use here. I need a pencil, and I've also got a couple of corners of Legos here. These are really handy for putting around the backside. Be sure that the thing is straight, and then you can kind of put this around the inside corners to be sure that everything lines up really nice for you. So let's go ahead and start here. Be sure this thing is laid out fairly square over on one side of the cardboard, and we're going to take our pencil and we're going to go ahead and draw around this thing. Now it's kind of tricky to draw around it without scooting it around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of hold pieces down, and my hand's probably going to be in the way of the camera some of the time here, but I'm going to go ahead and draw this edge. I'm going to move my hand over to here, and I'm going to draw this edge, and we've got a corner here. And then I'll hold these pieces down and draw across the front. And then I'll kind of scoot. You see, I'm already knocking stuff over. Scoot this here. And then I'm going to hold this edge down and get this side here. And then this back side, I don't think I've got it yet, right? So I'm going to draw across the back side. And I think that's it, did it? Yeah, okay, I drew under there. Okay, so I have completely drawn around the whole thing. So what you want to do is take something, you can just scoot it by hand, but I like using this. And you want to shove this thing out of the way. And you'll notice that we have a nice pencil outline of exactly where this thing is going to go on here. So the next step is to go ahead and put the glue down. Once you've got the glue down, it might be a good idea to take and kind of spread at least a little bit around on the inside. Part of the reason for that is many of these floor tiles, 1-inch floor tiles, are made from a combination of smaller tiles. Like you can see here, there's a bunch of small tiles. I don't want to miss one and have a tile fall out. So it's, if you kind of spread it around, you'll be sure that you get it in there. So at this point, what I will do is simply just take these and put them over here. Now, I'm not going to glue the floor tiles together, but I am going to glue the wall sections together. So take a little bit of glue and I'm going to put it on the side of these tiles, and I'm going to put it there, and this tile will probably put a little bit of glue on the side of it. And anytime I put a wall section down, I want to put a little bit of glue on the wall section there so that the walls will be nice and secure together. Now, at this point, for the floor tiles, I'm not going to glue all the floor tiles together. I am just going to take and I'm just going to set them down. Now, when you're putting them down, make sure that you don't have a floor tile upside down. That's kind of bad. When you glue it together and you glue it upside down, it's like, oh my God, you know, you find that later. That's kind of a problem. Okay, now that I have this all together, the next thing I want to do is put this, use this Lego wall here and be sure that everything is nice and straight. So I'm just going to put it against here and make sure all the edges kind of go straight. An important thing is to make sure that the doorways are actually nice and flat. So if you have a doorway that sometimes you want to push the tile forward and kind of spread the tiles out a little bit. There may be gaps between the tiles. Now that this floor section is dry, I will go ahead and cut around the outside edge and get rid of the extra cardboard. You'll want to do this onto a cutting board or several thicknesses of cardboard so you don't end up cutting your table. I'm going to use a regular utility knife or a box cutter, and what I'm going to do is cut around it. So if I was going straight down, the knife would be angled like this, but instead I'm going to angle it at a 45-degree angle. So I am going to rotate it about like this to go ahead and cut around the outside. So I'm going to start up in the corner here, and if you be sure that you've got a sharp blade on this, and what you can do is just kind of cut around the outside edge like that. This way I will cut around it like that, and it'll pretty much cut pretty. If you don't get a good clean cut, then you might want to change your blade, put a new blade on it, and just completely cut around the whole outside that way. Okay, now that we've cut it out, you'll notice that you don't really see the edge of the corrugation. Now, the reason I cut it at a 45-degree angle is because if I cut it straight down, you would see the corrugation on the side. Now, if you look at it on the side, you are still going to see the corrugation along the side like that. So you will still see the cardboard underneath of it. But it doesn't really bother me that much that you see the cardboard underneath of it, because most people are going to see this down on a gaming table, and they're going to be looking down on it at a 45-degree angle, so they're not even going to know that there's corrugation under there. Okay, now that I have all the pieces cut out, I'm kind of looking back and wondering if I should have used cardboard. I guess we'll find out at the end of this article. At the moment, it feels like it's kind of a really cheap way to do it. I mean, it is cheap because it doesn't really cost you anything, but you're spending all of the time to cast everything and make it look good, really good. Do you want to just go with the cheapest way to base this thing? Honestly, it may not make any difference. When I get done, when you set this on the table, you're not going to see it. So if it really doesn't make any difference, go ahead and use cardboard. But if it bothers you when you flip over a piece and you look at it and you see corrugation on the bottom like this, even when it's painted, if that bothers you, then you might mount it onto something else like a piece of cereal box, because I think a piece of cereal box would be thick enough to hold together a room that's this size. However, if the room is several squares bigger, you might not, because there might not be enough support there to strengthen the whole thing. So really, it's up to you. I'm going to go ahead just as it is with cardboard on the bottom, and then we'll see my thoughts later on in the project of if I should have based it on something else or not.